I never thought a stupid joke on a dating app would come back to bite me this hard. But here I am, in a sleek glass office in downtown Chicago, staring at the very man I once teased relentlessly online, only now he's my new boss. Daniel Blake. The username that once traded sarcastic jabs and late-night confessions with mine now wore a pressed suit and carried the weight of authority. I'd be lying if I said my pulse wasn't hammering like a drum solo at a rock concert. The room smelled faintly of cedarwood and expensive cologne. He didn't even need to speak for me to remember every reckless message I'd typed at 2 a.m., every mocking emoji, every flirtation I swore I meant ironically. Now, sitting across from him, I wasn't so sure. "Ethan, is it?" he asked, his voice low, a velvet edge that carried both curiosity and command. I nodded, throat dry. God, I remembered that voice digitized through cheap speakers when we'd once dared to send each other voice notes. I had joked about his deep timbre back then, calling him a wannabe villain. Now it sent shivers down my spine. "Yes, sir?" I managed, trying to sound professional, though the words are burned on my tongue. Something flickered in his eyes, recognition, amusement, maybe even satisfaction. He remembered me. I knew it. I'd signed up for Blake & Associates, one of the top marketing firms in Chicago, not expecting much more than endless coffee runs and corporate exhaustion. What I hadn't expected was him. Daniel Blake, the alpha who once confessed he liked omegas who pushed back. The man who teased me about being too stubborn for my own biology. The stranger I had ghosted after things got too real. And now, the alpha who controlled my paycheck. I shifted uncomfortably in my chair as his gaze lingered a moment too long. Was he silently replaying those nights we bantered about love, loneliness, and the twisted rules of the Omegaverse? Or was I just paranoid? "You'll be working directly under me?" Daniel finally said, his lips twitching with something dangerously close to a smirk. Under him. I hated how my body reacted to those words, hated the way my pulse betrayed me. "Of course," I replied, trying to steel my voice, though heat crept up my neck. He leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. "I expect professionalism. No games. No distractions." My jaw clenched. Oh, he remembered. That was his little reminder, sharp and deliberate. "This isn't the app anymore, Ethan." But here's the thing about omegas. No matter how much society boxes us in, some of us don't fit neatly into obedient or submissive. I wasn't about to let him think I was intimidated. So I smirked, lifting my chin just slightly. "Of course, sir. I wouldn't dream of wasting your time with games." The silence stretched between us, crackling with unspoken history. For a moment, his eyes darkened, that alpha dominance bleeding through the mask of professionalism. I should have looked away. I didn't. By the time I left his office, my stomach was in knots. Not because I feared him, but because I remembered. I remembered too much. The late-night texts, the teasing banter, the night he'd typed, "If we ever meet in real life, I won't let you run." And I had run. I deleted the app, buried the whole thing. Yet fate, or maybe some cruel cosmic joke, had delivered him right back into my life, with power hanging heavy in the air between us. The first week at Blake & Associates was torture. Every meeting, every presentation, I could feel his eyes on me. Sometimes cool, assessing. Sometimes lingering, like he was daring me to acknowledge the past. I avoided him as best I could. But avoiding Daniel was like trying to avoid the sun. You could pretend, but eventually the light would burn through. It was Friday evening when it happened. Everyone else had left the office, the floor silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights. I stayed behind to finish a campaign draft, determined to prove myself. That's when his voice broke the silence. "You still bite your lip when you're concentrating." I froze. Slowly, I looked up. Daniel leaned against the doorway, hands in his pockets, shirt sleeves rolled up. He looked less like my boss and more like the man from my memories, the one who used to laugh at my sarcasm and challenge me in ways no one else had. "You remember that?" I asked quietly. His eyes softened, just for a second. "I remember more than you think." My chest tightened. "Daniel, don't." He stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "Don't pretend this is nothing. Don't pretend you don't feel it. I swallowed hard, fighting the pull. We can't. You're my boss. This is dangerous. Dangerous doesn't scare me. His voice dropped, husky. Losing what I almost had? That scares me. The room seemed to shrink, every inch between us charged. My body betrayed me, heat rising in waves, instincts screaming to yield. But I wasn't just an Omega. I was me, and I wasn't about to give in without a fight. If I'd thought I could keep him at arm's length, I was wrong. Every interaction after that was laced with tension. A brush of his hand when passing a file. A glance that lingered too long. A word spoken too softly, too intimately. And then came the gala. Blake and Associates hosted an annual charity gala. A glittering affair of champagne, jazz, and high-profile clients. I wore the only suit I could afford, borrowed from my cousin. Daniel, on the other hand, looked like he'd stepped out of a fashion spread-tailored tux. Sharp jawline, confidence radiating off him. The night blurred with speeches and polite laughter. But it was during the slow dance that everything cracked. Clients urged Daniel onto the dance floor, and to my horror, he extended a hand to me. "Dance with me," he said, voice low enough that only I could hear. I can't," I stammered. "Yes, you can." His hand tightened around mine, leading me forward before I could protest. The music swelled, and suddenly I was in his arms. The world around us faded, leaving only the press of his body against mine, the steady thrum of his heart under my palm. "You fit," he whispered, as if the words were torn from him. "You always did." I should have pulled away. I didn't. Instead, I let him hold me just for that song. Just for that fleeting moment where it was only us, two men caught in something bigger than titles and rules. And for the first time in years, I let myself imagine. What if I hadn't run? The night ended too soon, reality slamming back into place as we returned to the office dynamic. But something had shifted, something irreversible. I couldn't unfeel the way his hand had settled at the small of my back. I couldn't unhear the way his voice cracked when he whispered my name. And I knew deep down neither could he. The fallout was inevitable. I knew it the moment Daniel's lips brushed mine at the gala. The moment we gave in to something bigger than either of us. For days afterward, every step in the office felt like walking on a tightrope, waiting for the drop. And then it came. The rumors. The whispers. Someone had seen us on the dance floor, had noticed the way his hand lingered too long on my waist. In a world where hierarchy meant everything, where an alpha boss and an omega subordinate was not just frowned upon but dangerous, it was only a matter of time. I thought Daniel would distance himself, protect his image, pretend nothing happened. Instead, he did the opposite. He defended me in meetings. He praised my work in front of the entire department. And when an executive sneered something under his breath about Omega ambition, Daniel's eyes turned to steel. "Say that again," he growled, his voice like thunder in the boardroom. The man went pale, stammered an apology, and the room fell silent. I should have been grateful. Instead, my heart twisted. Every act of protection only drew more attention, more risk. And I couldn't stop wondering how far would he go before it all came crashing down? The breaking point arrived on a Tuesday morning. I walked into the office to find my desk cleared, my files gone, my ID card deactivated. HR called it a necessary precaution. My employment was under review. And Daniel? He stormed into the HR office like a hurricane. His voice, usually controlled, cracked with rage. "You think you can punish him because of me? Because of us?" He said it like it was undeniable, like it was already written. But as I watched from the hallway, stomach hollow, I realized what he was risking. His career, his reputation, everything he had built. Because of me. That night, I packed my bags. I couldn't stay in Chicago. Not like this. I left him a letter. Short. Cowardly. "Daniel, you deserve someone who doesn't drag you down. Someone who can stand beside you without costing you everything. I can't be that person. Not here. Not now. I'm sorry." Then I boarded a bus to New York. The city swallowed me whole. I rented a shoebox apartment in Brooklyn, took freelance gigs that barely paid for groceries, and tried to convince myself I'd done the right thing. But every night, as I lay awake listening to the sirens and the hum of the city, I remembered his voice, his touch, the way he said us, and I hated myself for missing him. Months passed. Seasons changed. I thought maybe the universe had finally let me go till one evening. I found him standing outside my apartment building. Daniel Blake, in a rumpled suit, looking nothing like the untouchable alpha boss I'd once known. His eyes were tired, his tie loose, but when he saw me, he lit up like the sun breaking through clouds. "Ethan," he breathed. I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs. How did you think I wouldn't find you?" His voice cracked, rougher than I'd ever heard it. "You left without a word. Do you have any idea what that did to me?" "I left a letter," I whispered, pathetic even to my own ears. He laughed, sharp and broken. "A letter? You think a few lines on paper could end this? Could end us?" My throat tightened. "Daniel, I didn't want to ruin you." "You don't ruin me," he said fiercely, stepping closer. "You're the only thing that makes me whole." And then he was holding me, arms wrapping around me so tightly I thought I'd break. I buried my face in his chest, inhaling that familiar cedarwood scent, and for the first time in months, I let myself breathe. The rooftop came later. He took me there after midnight, climbing rusty stairs until we stood above the city. Lights glittered in every direction, the skyline stretching like an ocean of possibility. "This is where I come when I need to think," Daniel said quietly. "When I need to remember what matters." I turned to him, heart pounding. "And what matters?" His gaze locked onto mine, unwavering. "You." The word hung in the air, fragile and powerful all at once. "Daniel." My voice broke. "I'm scared." "So am I." He stepped closer, cupping my face in his hands. "But I'd rather face that fear with you than live without you." Tears burned my eyes. "What if it doesn't work? What if the world tears us apart again?" "Then let the world try," he whispered, "because I'm done running. And I'm not letting you run either." His lips brushed mine, soft and desperate, and the city seemed to fade. For once, it wasn't about hierarchy or rules or fear. It was just us. Two men, broken and stubborn, clinging to each other like lifelines. And in that moment, I knew, no matter what came next, I'd stop running too. We didn't solve everything that night. Love doesn't erase the world's cruelty. But it gave us something to fight for. Weeks later, I found a new job, different company, different title. Daniel visited often, bringing coffee, stealing kisses in stairwells, making me laugh until my ribs ached. For the first time, life felt bearable, hopeful. And on one quiet Sunday morning, as sunlight streamed through the blinds of my tiny apartment, he rolled over, hair messy, eyes soft, and whispered, "Move in with me." I laughed through tears, heart full to bursting. "Only if you promise," I said, "that no matter what happens, we keep choosing each other." He smiled, the kind of smile that could light entire cities. "Always." And when he kissed me, slow and certain, I believed him. Because in the end, love wasn't about running or hiding. It wasn't about hierarchy or rules. It was about standing still long enough to be found. And I had been found. By him. By us. Forever. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.